Hello, and welcome to Starside Chat, the official podcast of Starside Cafe, which is our YouTube channel. My name is Aaron, and I'm joined by Zach Owens. Hello, Zach.
Hello, how's it going?
It's going well. We had a very productive weekend. We're going to talk about it in this cast, but how's it been going for you? Anything interesting happened since the last time I saw you?
A little thing called God of War, which I think is going to
Yes.
be the main discussion topic for this week's
Very
podcast.
excited about that, yes.
Yeah, so-
but before we get into that, maybe we should talk about some news briefly.
Okay. So start us off. We got, Ubisoft at E3?
Yeah, I saw this last week. They were talking about, so they officially announced that their press conference is going to be on June 11th. And Ubisoft is usually towards the end of all the press conferences. Bethesda's usually first. And this actually might be a very interesting press conference because they're going to have footage. Who's to say if it's going to be like just pre-rendered stuff or actual gameplay. But they're going to have stuff about the Division sequel, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that as well.
Because we got into Division for a little while. But they also, I don't think it was last E3. I think it was 2 E3s ago. They had that crazy footage of Beyond Good and Evil 2 that was going to be like open world, like space exploration with hoverboards and stuff.
It looked crazy. I kind of don't even know what to expect from that game. I didn't play the first Beyond Good and Evil, but
nor did I.
The footage from that game just looked crazy, and I kind of don't know what to make of it just yet.
Yeah, so TBD on that. That's something to look forward to. And as we get closer, probably at some point in May, we're going to do multiple videos about E3, things we want to see, and the coverage. We'll have E3 coverage round the clock when it happens, let me tell you.
Oh, yeah.
But the other thing, this is something you talked about in one of our first videos that I had no idea about, was Skull and Bones they're probably going to show.
Yeah, I remember it was a kind of a weird thing last E3. So they were unveiling Sea of Thieves. I guess maybe not unveiling it, but they were talking about it and showing some footage of it and everything, and everybody was getting very excited about it. And then, like, later, Ubisoft, as almost like a footnote, they were like, oh yeah, also we're doing like a pirate open, like, I don't know if it's open world or, one of those like
probably
persistent online game worlds. I think it's going to be pretty different. Obviously, like graphically, they're going for more of a realistic look, whereas Sea of Thieves was going for like a very cartoony look. But even just within like the gameplay, because it seems like instead of you just being like a member of some crew and you're working with your friends or whatever, it seems as though you're just like controlling the ship. And so you see all your crew members or whatever, but they're just sort of doing, their own thing as you're sort of more directing the ship in general.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how all of that's going to work. So maybe we'll see more of that this year and kind of figure out what's going on with that game. But considering how disappointing Sea of Thieves was for a lot of people, maybe Skull and Bones can be the game they wanted Sea of Thieves to be.
But what if Skull and Bones is like super similar to Sea of Thieves, and now Ubisoft is just like sweating bullets over all the reviews of Sea of Thieves?
I don't know. Yeah, that could be the case. Maybe they learned something from the release of Sea of Thieves, and they've
Hopefully.
like changed their plans.
Yeah, if we see them be like, hey, this is the release is getting pushed back by a year and a half.
Yeah.
That probably means that it was super similar.
I was gonna say if we hear of like them pushing the game back, then we know something's up. But I don't think it's gonna be that similar. I think they're doing different things. I think it's more based on like a shared world sort of cooperative version of the Assassin's Creed pirate thingy.
Well, speaking of Assassin's Creed, so the other two games, the sort of franchises that Ubisoft have, Assassin's Creed, which I have heard rumors is going to be in Greece, which would be interesting. I'm not sure the time, but ancient Greece I think would make sense. And then the other thing, which I'm very excited for, is there's a rumor going around that they'll have Watch Dogs 3 stuff to show, and it'll be set in London,
And
which I would be very interested in. I very much enjoyed both Watch Dogs 1 and Watch Dogs 2. I thought they were great. I prefer Watch Dogs 2 because it's a sort of an homage to hackers in a lot of ways, which is my favorite movie. Kind of like a group of teens, young adults, kind of taking on the man. And there's even a part where you hack the planet, which I very much enjoyed. But I'm pro anything where you play like a crazy hacker that has like crazy hacking abilities.
I have not played either of the Watch
Oh,
Dogs
really?
games. Yeah.
That's crazy to me. I thought you had.
No, so I watched a bunch of Watch Dogs 1 on Twitch, and so I got to the point where I was like, I think I'm good on that. And then for whatever reason, I didn't get around to Watch Dogs 2. I think I was either busy with something else or I don't know what was going on. I just didn't get
Oh my
around
God.
to it. But yeah,
Ubisoft
I know you've spoken very highly of them for a long time, so.
Ubisoft is very good at doing like participating in Steam sales and being like all Ubisoft titles are some percent off. And I feel like Watch Dogs is going to get that treatment. Maybe when the Steam summer sale happens, if it's like 50% off or something, you should definitely pick up Watch Dogs 2 because if you're not playing anything, it's very fun to sink a lot of time into. And it's basically like watching Silicon Valley almost.
Well, so that's part of the problem, actually. You're right. Ubisoft does like frequently do sales on Steam, but like I've been wanting to get the Assassin's Creed Origins game and play that because I've heard such good things about it, and it's been so long since I've played an Assassin's Creed.
Yeah.
And it's been on sale multiple times since it came out. Like it always drops down to like 35 for like a week, like every couple of weeks or so, or like every other month or something like that. And every time it does, it's like a week before something else comes out that I'm gonna get, or like after
Yeah.
I have just gotten something, and I'm like, I'm not gonna have time for that. So
You don't have to immediately like. Have you ever? You're new to PC gaming, but have you ever bought a Humble Bundle before?
I have not.
I have conservatively 120 games on Steam, but a lot of those. Firstly, I got Steam in high school, but also like Humble Bundles are really good deals, and like you'll pay $5 and get like 20 games, and you're not gonna play all those games at once. You can just like. I think the best one there was like an EA one maybe, or I don't remember exactly, but there was some high profile games and you had to pay like above the average to get like an extra 4 games. So I paid like $14 and I got like 20 games. And I haven't played, like I have Burnout Paradise and I have not played that, but I might someday.
Yeah, I will say I have bought a lot of games on Steam just to have because I know there's going to be a time where I will probably want to play them, but I'm like not playing them right away. And most of those have been because there's like some crazy Steam sale, whether it was like a summer sale or like a holiday sale. So I have bought games on Steam with the like knowing I was not going to be able to play them right away, but usually those are like games that are games that I owned on like 360. And I wanted to have them in my PC library so I wouldn't have to worry about like console generations and whether it's going to be like backwards compatible anymore. And
Exactly,
and they
'cause
were
you can-
all on sale for like $10 or less.
Steam is great. And like the fact that you can just like build a new computer whenever and still have all your games is so handy. And like you can share your games with your family as well.
That was one of the main reasons I wanted to be a PC gamer was because like I was so invested into the Xbox 360 that when the PS4 came out, I was like, oh man, I'm leaving behind so many games. And like I still have my 360. I could plug it back in again and play those games if I really wanted to. But it's like at some point you just want to like get rid of your old stuff and just have everything in one place. Also, there's like Xbox this generation is doing a pretty good job of making stuff backwards compatible, but like you've had to wait for that, you know what I mean? So to me, like PC is great because it just sort of you don't have to worry about that at all. Like you don't have to worry about next time, like whenever the Xbox 2 comes out or like the PlayStation 5 comes out, you don't have to worry about whether the games you've owned and invested so much time into this generation are going to be playable again on that next generation. Like with a PC, you just own it and you can play it and it's great.
I couldn't agree more. Moving on.
Well, hold on. One more thing about like digital games. If you are an Amazon Prime subscriber, I guess, on and you do like the whole Twitch Prime thing, they have deals going right now. SteamWorld Dig 2 is free.
Oh yeah, you picked that up on Switch, didn't
I
you?
played it on Switch and I added it to my like they have this like Twitch app now that you can download on PC and like you can actually get games through them. I guess they're trying maybe a little bit to compete with Steam in that, but they do frequently have a lot of offers if you're like a Twitch Prime, which is like Amazon Prime or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so I've gotten a couple of games through that, and so since it was free, I guess got SteamWorld Dig 2 on PC now. Because yeah,
That's awesome.
I played it last year on Switch and I loved it, and I would highly recommend it.
It's on my list, definitely. We were talking about Ubisoft, and you put this on here completely independent of me talking about their E3 press conference, but that Division movie with Jake Gyllenhaal, there's some movement on it. Back like, I feel like it was like a week or two after the Division came out, so they were like, guess what? This is going to be a movie with Jake Gyllenhaal. And then we didn't hear anything about it, but now it's got a director.
Yeah, so the director of, I want to say John Wick. Let me look him up real quick. David Leitch? I don't know how to say his name.
He's directing Deadpool 2, it seems like. And he's on board to direct the Fast and Furious spinoff with Dwayne Johnson and Jason Statham, which I'm crazy excited for.
Yeah, so he was a stunt man, and he has like turned into a director, and he directed. He worked on John Wick, and he directed that Atomic Blonde movie.
That's great, because both of those movies have excellent,
Yeah.
like, close quarters urban action.
Very great physical. Well, that's not a word. Visceral action. Yeah, he's doing Deadpool 2, and apparently he's going to direct this Division movie. So that makes it significantly more exciting because the action could be really great. But also, I kind of wonder what they did to entice Jessica Chastain and Jake Gyllenhaal to this movie.
Yeah, because they were the first ones. They were, like, on board immediately.
Yeah, like I guess even before the director was announced. So
I don't know. We've talked about this before, maybe on the podcast. I don't remember, but I love movies where somebody has a secret that's going to get revealed. I mainly prefer like romantic comedies like that. Like I love You've Got Mail, but
or like 10
that's, like,
Things I Hate About You, where somebody's hiding something.
No, so that's a bad secret. I like
I was
I
gonna
like good
say
secrets.
that's like kind of not great, but all right.
Secrets where you're like, where one is like, wait a minute, you're just dating me for a bit? Like, that's not a good secret. But like,
Okay, I was
a good
gonna say
secret
that's
is like,
a trope that people make fun of in movies.
a good secret is I am a crazy government like secret agent sleeper cell that's waiting for like impending doom, but I'm living out my life. Oh no, impending doom has happened. I'm like it's like that Jet Li movie, Black Mask. Did you ever see that movie?
Oh yeah, I remember that movie.
He's just like a very timid librarian, but he's actually hiding out and he's like a superhuman. Like, that's great. And this is going to be great. There's going to be a scene, man, wouldn't it be great if he is like a librarian or like a teacher or something, and then he has to save his kids, and all of his kids are like, it's like that scene in Hook where like the kids see Robin Williams, but he's like panned now, and they're like, oh my God, that's my dad. And they freak out. That's like, or like the obvious thing is like when Meg Ryan figures out that Tom Hanks is actually like Chicago. What was his name? It was like Cubs fan or something.
I don't remember. It's too long ago.
I think it was something with Chicago. Now, no, you know what? Maybe it was a New York thing. I don't remember.
Or like
Anyway.
when they realize that it's Arnold Schwarzenegger playing the part of Turbo Man and Jingle. I'm just trying to think of all the ones that would be terrible.
Anyway, I'm super excited for this because it seems like a great director and it's a very cool premise for a movie. Like I like a strong, crazy protagonist.
Well, so
that's gonna take care of stuff.
So here's the question then: is this the first like good video game movie? The one that not only is very good, like critically, but is like a huge box office success? The one that paves the way for even more video game movies?
TBD, but it's definitely got a lot going for it.
It does. I'm interested to see more of that. This is actually kind of a movie-heavy news week, so why don't we move to the next bit of video game movie news?
Oh yeah, well that's speaking of video game movies, they're making another Doom movie.
Indeed, they are.
Did you see the Rock Doom movie?
I didn't. No.
It wasn't great for a couple of reasons. Number one being that they backed off the whole hell angle. Like, the reason there were, like, demons, they weren't even called demons, was because, like, there was an ancient race of aliens on Mars that developed, like, teleporting technology. Or no, it wasn't even teleporting technology. That's from Doom. It was very dumb, but it basically led to, like, that was one problem with it, where it wasn't about hell. Another problem with it was The Rock was not the main character, which is, like, Carl Urban was the main character, so, like, whatever. But, like, The Rock should be the main character in every movie The Rock is in.
Well, they know that now. I think back then they didn't know that for sure yet.
Also, there was going to be, like, a revolutionary first-person shooter segment of this movie that ended up being very awful. It was this weird... to watch it these days, even to watch it when it was happening, was just, like, surreal because it was so terrible. But it looked like a full motion video game almost. But
what if they did? What if they did Hardcore Henry as Doom?
Yes, that's what it should have been. If they wanted to do that, it should have been the whole movie, and it should have been Hardcore Henry. That would have been really awesome, actually.
Yeah.
But this is a new one that's coming out. And actually, reading the article, apparently it's being developed by Universal 1440, which I've not heard of. 1440 Entertainment. And apparently, they handle non-theatrical titles. So they do a lot of direct-to-DVD or digital stuff. And so there's some speculation this might be like a Cloverfield paradox type thing where Netflix is like, oh, we'll take this off your hands. So
interesting.
It might not be in theaters, but maybe they've learned a lot. I feel like we're getting to a place where people understand. Like, I believe Doom was prior to, like, any, like, Marvel or anything going on. So people were just sort of, like, it was shots in the dark. But we've had a couple of really visceral, crazy action. Like, we've had Hardcore Henry and John Wick and things like that. And hopefully they realize that they just need to go, like, crazy. Like, Deadpool is another example of a hard R that did really well.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure Doom 2005 was PG-13.
Yeah, that's dumb.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, they always find a way to mess it up, kind of like that. But so the other question I guess I have is, like, what's the name of the main character in Doom?
He's the Doom Marine.
Yeah, but, like, who is he?
He's the Doom Marine. Didn't you play the new Doom?
I know, but my point is he's not, like, this guy, right? You don't, like, cast Carl Urban and he's, like, this guy, right? He's the Doom Marine. That's all he needs to be. And I feel like they're going to mess that up.
Doom 3, which people... Whatever. It was a game, and I played it. But in that one, you were just, like, John Space Marine. But usually it's, like, almost more primordial, where, like... Especially in the new Doom, they got that, like, really right, and I really liked that, where, like, you were sort of just a force of nature. You were the Doom Marine. And demons were, like, very afraid of you. And there was a bunch of lore. So I hope they lean hard into the whole demon aspect.
That's what I want from this movie. I want them to do that. And I feel like they're not going to. And that's why it could potentially suck.
Maybe, I mean, definitely there was a lot of criticism of the other Doom movie. And so maybe they want to distance themselves from that and actually make a good movie. So maybe I don't know. We'll see, I guess.
Yeah. I guess we'll have to wait and find out.
But The Rock was in the first one. He's not going to be in this one, but The Rock is in Fast and Furious, which we've already talked about. And there's going to be a Netflix original cartoon series that is Fast and Furious.
Does it lend itself to, like, an animated series?
I hope so.
I'm kind of confused by this.
Fast and Furious is one of my favorite film franchises. And so anything that gets me more Fast and Furious, I mean, obviously their main pull is Vin Diesel and The Rock, but this is going to star someone named Tony Toretto instead of Dom Toretto, and he is like Dom Toretto's cousin or like nephew maybe, and they get like I think they get enlisted by this secret government organization to yeah, Tony is recruited by a government agency to infiltrate an elite racing league bent on world domination.
Okay. Yeah.
They're a racing league, but they have to take over the world. Like, how does that not sound great?
I mean, you could also say that in a way that sounds more like, how does that sound good?
You saying you're anti Fast and Furious movies? Is that correct?
I'm not anti them.
You're a bit of a film snob.
A little bit sometimes. I try not to be, but I also have not seen a lot of the Fast and Furious movies.
Oh my god, Zach, they're so good.
Well, so like, there's a lot of them that are dumb. You have told me, like, you have to watch specific ones, right?
Yes. So the first one is good to get a baseline.
That's the one I've seen.
Yes, that's good. It's good to, like, in comedy, they say you have to like establish reality basically so that you can go forth from that. But watch the first one. I don't really think you have to watch the second one. It introduces Tyrese and I think maybe some other characters. I don't remember. Do not watch the third one because it is terrible. The fourth one, I straight up don't know anything about. But the fifth one is the one where you can really start. Like, 5 and onward are where they figured it out and they were like, we're just gonna go insane. The first one, I think this is originally like something Adam Scott said in How Did This Get Made? But the first one, they're stealing VHS players. Like, that's what they're doing, and it's like there's racing involved, but really they're just like, they love cars. They're doing some like low crimes for reasons, and then in the fifth one. And I think it's like the 6th or 7th one, they're in a room with a NATO general and like Vin Diesel pulls a gun on him and like takes a nuke away from him. Like, it escalates significantly.
Yeah, that's what I've gathered. So the reason why I guess I haven't watched these is because like I saw the first one and then like the second, third, and fourth came out and everyone was like, nah, these are not good, pass on these. And so by the time like the fifth and the rest of them came out, I was like, well, I've already heard that they're bad and I shouldn't watch them, but also like even if they have started to get good, like I'm so far behind at this point, is it even worth getting into?
All you really need to know is that Dom is in love with this woman played by Michelle Rodriguez called Letty, and they're like together forever and they've been married. But then in the fourth one, I guess she dies, and so he's very broken up about that. And Paul Walker is married to Vin Diesel's sister, who is played by Jordana Brewster. That's it, really. Everyone else is sort of like, especially
that basically get set up in the first movie.
Maybe it does. It's been a very long time since I've seen that. But you have to know that Letty is dead in the fourth one, and then the fifth one happens.
Which is the one where they're like pulling a giant safe like through town or whatever, like on cars that could never possibly pull, like they just don't have the power to do that.
Zach, they put super engines.
And which is the one where Vin Diesel like jumps across the highway and catches someone in midair and lands on like the hood of a car and is totally fine?
I think that's the sixth one.
Like, do you kind of see where like these are the impressions I have of these movies, and that's why I've kind of not jumped on board with them?
How does Vin Diesel jumping from a car to catch someone not make you want to see a movie?
I mean, for one, it depends on how much you like Vin Diesel.
I love Vin Diesel.
Really? He hates The Rock. How are you like... You're a Rock loyalist, so I don't know how you've not taken a side in this fight.
I mean, I definitely like The Rock more, and The Rock is a better person.
Yeah.
But Vin Diesel is also just, like, hilarious.
I suppose. His Instagram is hilarious because of
he hasn't been
how
posting recently.
Stupid he makes himself out to be.
Zach, there's a scene in Fate of the Furious where The Rock literally punches a missile out of the way. He sees a missile, and Tyrese is like, this is going to explode us. And The Rock is like, no, I've got this. and he pushes the missile away with his fist.
So I'm of two minds of these things. Like, there's a side of me that like loves that like crazy like 80s over the top action movie hero type of thing that would like totally be on board for some of this stuff. And then there's like the side of my brain that was like the film student that like studied all this stuff and has like a love of like more grounded movies. And that part of my brain looks at this stuff and goes, this is just ridiculous and stupid. And there's that part of me that's sort of battling over all of this.
Interesting. Maybe we should watch one of them together.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we can do that.
That was a long hesitation there.
Well, so because I also want you to watch Grand Budapest Hotel. And I cannot get you to do that.
I can't do that until I know the Cylons are going to kill me, Zach.
What if I, like... I'm going to come up with a way to, like, make you believe that Cylons are attacking.
You can try. But in the meantime, we should totally watch Fast and Furious 5, 6, and 7, and 8 all on the same day.
I don't know.
Anyway, I'm very excited for this Fast and Furious animated show, so we'll see what happens. The other bit of movie news, which I just saw right before we started recording, is that they released, or it kind of got leaked, what Venom is going to look like in the Venom movie. It looks pretty crazy.
So what do you think of this?
I don't know, because it's kind of in the same universe as Spider-Man, but we're not sure if Spider-Man is going to be involved at all.
So, yeah, that's the thing that kind of confuses me, because I want to say is this Sony? This isn't Marvel,
yes.
Right?
No, it's in no way affiliated with Marvel.
Yeah, so that's where I get kind of lost in some of this stuff, and I don't, like, it's not connected, right?
No. Well, so we don't know. They want it to be in the same universe as Spider-Man, but we're not sure if that's going to happen or not.
Well, and which Spider-Man? Do they mean like the Marvel Spider-Man, or do they mean like...
Yeah, that's the only Spider-Man.
They have disregarded the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man.
That's not happening anymore, no.
Okay. Well, I mean, so essentially Sony is wanting this to eventually cross over with Marvel, even though Marvel has their own like specific plan.
Yes. They got Spider-Man into the Marvel Universe, and now they're trying to just like they got their foot in the door, and they're trying to widen the door and get some of that Marvel magic. But I don't know. This looks like it's going to be very dark and also maybe a little boring. So, I mean, based on the one trailer, I guess we don't know. But the one trailer looked like really just like very uninteresting to me. But yeah. I don't know. The CGI on the Venom doesn't look awful to me.
So here's the thing. I like Tom Hardy a lot, and there's part of me that's very curious as to what drew him to this movie. So I would probably see it based solely on that, but I'm also like not huge on Spider-Man, and so I don't know that much about like the villains from Spider-Man. So I'm also like, there's this movie that's coming out that is based on like some side character from the Spider-Man universe. And so that part of me is more like, why should I even care about this?
Good question. And the Venom design, did you ever see a movie called Split Second starring Rutger Hauer?
No.
You would not like it because you would probably turn your nose up at it. But the
coming
monster
off as
design,
this like a horrible like snob in this, I'm not feeling good about it.
The monster design in that is very similar, I think, to this Venom design, which like I have very fond memories of that movie. And so like I'm watching this clip, this like 5-second clip of him over and over again, and the symbiote just like comes over his face and it's just like grinning crazily and it talks. And this has the potential to be kind of like dumb good based on that, but it might be, I don't know, the tone looks like a DC movie almost to me because everything is just like dark colors and it's like nighttime streets.
Well, so here's the thing. Sony kind of redeemed themselves with Logan last year, as far as I'm concerned.
That was a great movie.
So
yeah, I agree.
Plus people really love the Deadpool movie. So I think they're like, maybe they've learned their lesson a little bit and they're getting better and they are taking newer, better directions. So I'm actually more interested in this movie than like the Fast and Furious cartoons.
Interesting. We have one other bit of news that is actually video game related.
Campo Santo was bought by Valve.
Yes. Now we both played Firewatch. I know I did. You did too.
I
right?
did, yes.
I enjoyed it, except for, well, I guess we shouldn't get into spoilers, but I felt that it
It's
could have gone a
old
much
enough.
more. That's a good point. I wish that it had been something crazy and not just like the plot twist was that it's like all based in reality and it was like some old man mourning the death of his child.
I mean, that's fine if that's like a theme or like something that's happening as sort of like a character driven part of the narrative. But
For sure.
like it definitely feels a little like Stranger Things where that you're expecting there to be like some sort of almost sci-fi or supernatural type of an element at play there. And it just turns out that that's not the case at all, and so it is a little bit, I guess, disappointing. But I really enjoyed that game. I loved the art style and had a lot of fun with it.
I did too. And they're making that new Egypt game, which I can't remember the name of.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of it either. I just remember them showing the like reveal trailer at E3, I think last year maybe, and then seeing the year that it's coming out. I was like, oh, this is super advanced. That's we're not going to see that for a while. So I'm not quite sure what Valve buying them means for either Valve or Campo Santo.
It's a good question because usually when a game company buys another game company, it's to make that company make games for them. But Valve doesn't really like make a lot of games.
It's my understanding that the stuff that Valve is working on right now is all like VR stuff, and I think they have 3 projects in the works,
Oh, really?
but I don't know what any of them are.
Yeah, I guess I could see. I guess Firewatch would have lended itself very well to being a VR title.
Yeah, I can see that.
So I
as
could
well.
see them, like the narratives, I guess is what they're buying. They're buying like the narrative skills of Campo Santo, which is good. And I like Campo Santo. They were on the first episode of that Foo show by Will Smith, and they seem like cool guys.
I didn't see that, but yeah, I liked Firewatch quite a bit. So I would be curious to see what a project involving both them and Valve would be like. So
We shall see. Probably not for a couple of years, but I don't know.
other, I guess, minor footnote would be that news recently, I guess, came out that PUBG is getting like a map selection tool type of thing. So if you're like super into PUBG, that's probably pretty cool news for you, so that you can hopefully avoid playing Miramar over and over again.
I like Miramar. I know a lot of people don't, but I find it to be pretty fun.
Well, I mean, if you specifically want to jump in and you know what map you want to play, then maybe you can, with this new selection thing, you can go ahead and find that map as opposed to constantly getting the map you don't want.
Yes, and there's a new map called Codename Savage, which is the small map that they have been doing beta tests for. I think they've done 3 so far. And that's still not, you still have to apply to get a key to play that when they open the server up. But when that opens, I'm sure everyone is going to want to be playing that because it's apparently a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Because it really, it tones down the games where you're just like looting and don't see anyone for 20 minutes. So it's like instant action pretty much wherever you drop.
I'm looking forward to that dropping onto the test server so that we can try that out.
It technically is on the test server, but you have to have a key for it.
Well, I mean, like for the public.
Yeah, for sure. I'm super excited for that too. Yeah, we should definitely do a video on that when we get access. Apparently it's very easy to get keys. We're always busy when they're, like I always go out of town because it's usually on weekends when they do it.
Yeah. Anyway, that's not a big story. Just wanted to mention it. And I guess we can move on to the next thing.
Yes. Zach, well, we can't really because I finished Far Cry 5 last night. And I have a lot of things to say about the ending, and they are not positive.
Oh, really?
You have not finished. Yes. You have not finished it. So we will maybe talk about this next week. But Get ready for disappointment, Zach.
Oh no.
What's also crazy is like, so I completed the first person I took down. There's 3 lieutenants you have to take down. I took down I think his name is Joseph, the Joseph seed. And then I was going to do the girl, Bliss, I think is her. No, that's the name of the drug. I don't remember her name. But I took her down. And then last night I was like, okay, I'm going to start doing the top area and we'll see how far I get. And the first and second area, it took me a pretty good amount of time, but I slammed through the final area in like 3 hours, mostly because like I was like done having people talk at me, so I started skipping cutscenes.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I slammed through the top like Whitetail Hills or whatever it's called, Mount Whitetails or whatever. I slammed through that in like 3 or 4 hours. And then the ending happened, and I really want to talk to you about it, but you have to play it.
I was gonna try to finish it before God of War, and then I got sidetracked by the new Overwatch event and didn't finish it. Maybe I'll try to set aside some time this week and finish Far Cry 5 so that we can have a good long discussion about that on the next podcast, or maybe like in a separate like Far Cry 5 final thoughts video. But
yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's definitely... I think I like Far Cry 4 better.
Well, so I guess I don't know that I had super high expectations for the story anyway, because I had heard such bad things about it to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
But I guess, like, to me, and we don't have to talk too much about this because we should save it, but I think you're right about how the different sections that you go to, like, they feel shorter with each one that you go to. Maybe it's just because I had already like stopped into those areas to go get all the companions. So I like made a trip to go unlock all the companions so that I could get all of their challenges out of the way to get all those perk points. Yeah. And I feel like just in doing that, I am almost done with the guy to the north. And I've done little more than that, and maybe like one or two other things. So it definitely feels like it's going faster. Like the speed or the pace is sort of picking up as I go. So,
well, I guess we should talk about it. The elephant in the room. The thing that made you not finish it is we started playing God of War.
So very excited. We played a whole bunch of it over the weekend.
I think we played 7 hours on Saturday.
And it was great. We had a lot of fun. You and I were playing together so that we could put our Let's Play up.
Yes, which is coming out now every day this week and every day probably until we finish it, which TBD on that.
Well, weekday. Every weekday.
Every weekday, that's right. We'll be putting out a vid. And I gotta say, we played for 7 hours, but I never got tired, and I kind of wanted to keep going when we were finishing up.
I did as well. If it wasn't like, I think like 9:30 by the time we were like decided to stop, if it wasn't that late, I definitely would have kept going because I was super into it. I am really, really enjoying the story, the father-son dynamic, and
yes,
the way it is going about that. I was not sure how the like no cutting was gonna work, and it seems to be working really, really well.
I have to agree, and just like the axe is so satisfying to use. Like previous God of War games, you're always collecting new weapons. Like you'll kill a god and like acquire like an item. I think it was it Hermes that's known for running really fast, but you get his boots in one of them, and those were just like really fun because he would just like run up people and just like kick them crazily, or you would get like a crazy giant hammer or like a crazy scythe. And in this one, it's only the axe, but you can customize it, and just like you're constantly learning new intuitive moves to do with the axe, and it's just like it's so satisfying to throw it and it like whips back in your hand.
Yeah, the combat is so satisfying, and
it's so good.
We waited way too long to get that one like heavy attack with it that is super satisfying, and also like just really, really brutal. Like it's just a brutal takedown move, and a lot of them feel that way. Where so you have like your different skill trees. So you have like the one that is you throwing your axe, like a heavy throw and a light throw, but then you also have like the light and heavy melee attacks with them, which is like a different skill tree. So you'll get different abilities with those, and some of them are like combos. And then you have your shield skill tree, which is like your sort of your melee without the axe abilities, but also like your rage mode. And then there's also like the bow, so like the skills that Atreus has. So there's like three different sort of main skill trees, but each of those sort of have their own, I guess, separate skill trees. There's just a lot of abilities in there. I guess that maybe leads to one of our few complaints that we have about the game so far, is that the menus are just super dense. It's like menus on top of menus on top of menus, and one of the tutorials was just a lot of clicking through menus.
Yeah, because like whenever a new thing happens, it does something very helpful where it's like, hey, guess what? Now this is a thing. So if you want to do this, you press circle and then you do this. But like the first time you open up everything, it's like it has a lot of stuff to tell you, and it tells you all in like non-skippable little text boxes where it's like, this is this, and if you want to create this, then you need this. And it just like there was like literally a 30 or 45-second part where we would just like see a box, read it, and be like, and then go to the next one and see a new box and be like, and just keep doing that. And
it just kept going
also, like,
and going.
A complaint that I have is that it's just like all a little bit too small. Like I would appreciate if things were just a little bigger.
So that's a thing. Like I read a story about how people are complaining about the text size in it, and so they actually, I think, did an update fairly recently that gave you like a slider, an accessibility menu, so you can like increase the text size, but even after that, it's still a little bit small. So I mean, obviously it's not as easy as like going into a Word document and just like setting it from like, 12 font to like 16 or whatever, because you would cause problems in the game menu. Like you would probably break them if you tried to do that. But yeah, the text is a little small. So you might have to get up and walk over to your TV to look at it in order to read what's going on there.
That's my only complaint though. Like the puzzles are nice and satisfying. They have these nice little boxes where you need to find 3 runes, and they have interesting spins on them. You have to like throw your axe at each rune in a set amount of time, and then, or sometimes it's not a set amount of time. Sometimes it's just you have to find all 3,
right? And
then you can get what's in the box. And I would say like it's linear until like the 5 or 6 hours in, and then it starts to be open world, which is crazy.
Yeah, so we played for like 7 hours on Saturday, and I feel like hours, 5 or 6 of those hours were just before the game opens up and gives you like the ability to start going around and exploring the open world as you please.
Yes, and which is crazy, and it's also like it's great. Like the cinematic moments and all the narrative are great. I never was like, oh man, I wish it would stop holding my hand.
Yeah. I don't say that to be a negative. It definitely doesn't feel like it's hand holding.
Yeah, and then you get to like you get to a lake at one part, and you have a boat, and you can sort of just do whatever you want. And there are side quests, which I was not anticipating there would be in this game.
Yeah, and a lot of the things that you kind of go around and try to explore with, you'll realize there's like things that are locked behind something that you have to go get. So it's starting to feel a little Zelda-like, where you're going to have to play a little bit more of the story to find that special item or I guess like new bit of magic or whatever that you can then go back and sort of go back to where you were before, where that thing was that you couldn't interact with before, and then you'll be able to go maybe do a little puzzle, and you'll get rewards for doing that.
It's very good, and I love it, and I have only positive things to say, and I think that's our last item to talk about. Did you have anything else on God of War other than that? How great it is.
No, I mean it's just really great.
All right. Well, look forward to those videos.
Here's a question: if they were going to make a movie based on this game, like when they rebooted Tomb Raider and they went for a more serious tone. And now suddenly they've got a movie on that. So if they make a movie on this, who plays Kratos?
Zach, it's got to be The Rock.
That's your answer for everything, but I feel like that's not right for this.
He is like such a nurturing personality, though. Like watching him with children is so satisfying. Like he has a little girl in the Fast and Furious movies, and there's like a scene where he's like coaching their soccer team. Like he is like a father figure almost, and I feel like he's got the emotional breadth of talent to really like sell being sort of like a stoic. He's also jacked, but he looks great with a beard. But I would say like watching him like go from stone faced to like caring about the kid, I feel like would be amazing to see. And he could just like he can sell being a god.
Well, he could, and I feel like he's already played a god in other movies, but you don't think maybe we're like getting oversaturated with The Rock and like you almost wouldn't want to see him in or as Kratos in a God of War game?
He would look very different.
Yeah. But
what's your non-Rock answer?
I don't know. I hadn't honestly thought about who I would pick to cast. What about Tom Hardy?
You love Tom Hardy.
I do love Tom Hardy.
I don't know. I guess he would play the stoic very well, but I don't know if he can be like compassionate. I watched a lot of that Taboo show, and he definitely like is channeling. Like he's definitely very dark in that show, and I could see him like he yells very well. He gets like very quiet to really loud very quickly, which I feel like is good for Kratos.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you can make the case that he's not big enough because I don't know how tall he is, but
that doesn't matter. Everyone is
that's
like
true.
5'6".
I feel like he would be great at it because I do think he could pull off like sort of growing to have compassion for his child by the end of it, but he would definitely sell like every other aspect of Kratos, I think.
I agree. And I mean, Tom Hardy makes me think of Tom Hardy being bald makes me think of Christian Bale, who also looks great with a beard, and I feel like it might be good.
Yeah, and he, like, if you, apparently, as we've learned from Batman, if you ask him to get jacked, he will get, like, super huge.
Yeah, he's big into, like, transforming his body for a role. So, I mean, I could definitely see him, and he looks good bald. He was bald in, what was that dragon movie?
Oh, Reign of Fire?
Wait,
that was Matthew McConaughey.
That was Matthew McConaughey. Also a good choice, though.
Yeah, potentially. Or Huge Jackman.
Ah.
Do you like how I called him Huge Jackman?
Pretty good.
But we already saw him in that movie. It was Logan.
Very true. Yeah. Well, this isn't necessarily as, like, such a downer as Logan. Like, I would imagine... I mean, I guess we don't know. But I assume things turn out okay for Kratos because he's unkillable.
True, he is a god, but he's going up against other gods.
Zach, he went up against other gods in other games. And then, once he defeated all the gods, he started going up against titans. And then he, like, defeated them. And so then he just, like, took off. And I guess he's fighting other gods now.
It's true. I'm not sure where they're going to go, but he is going to have to face down more gods. But this time they're Norse gods.
Yes. So look out for those vids on our channel. And I think that about wraps it up for this week.
I think it does. Follow us on Twitter. Give us a like and subscribe. And thanks for listening / watching. Thank you to Mike for our logo and
yes.
Ryan for our music and to Kyle for our intro animation. Thanks to those guys. And we will see you on the next one.
Goodbye.